The foundation of Stoic calmness lies in one eternal truth. Some things are within your control, and others are not. Epictetus opened his Enchiridion with this exact teaching because it is the cornerstone of inner strength, and if you truly live by this, nothing can disturb your peace. Think about it. Every day you get pulled into battles that don't belong to you. You argue with people who will never change. You stress about outcomes that are out of your hands. You waste your energy on the uncontrollable, and in the process, you lose control of yourself. That's why you feel anxious. That's why you feel restless. The Stoics said, "This is madness. The man who invests his soul into things he cannot command is already defeated." What do you actually control? Your thoughts, your actions, your choices, your effort. That's it. Everything else is borrowed from fate. The weather is not yours. The economy is not yours. Other people. Opinions, never yours. Even your body is temporary, destined to decay with time. But your reason, your will, your discipline, that is your fortress. That is where calmness is born. Imagine two men walking through a storm. One curses the sky, shouting at the thunder as if his words can silence the heavens. The other pulls his cloak tighter, lowers his head, and walks forward. The storm is the same for both, but one man is broken by what he cannot control, and the other is unshaken because he knows where his power lies. Which one do you want to be? To practice this, begin with awareness. When you face a situation, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control or is this outside of it? If it is within, then act with discipline and courage. If it is outside, then release it with grace. Let it go. It was never yours to begin with. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, carried the weight of an empire on his shoulders. Armies were at the borders. Plague struck the land. Betrayal was always near. Yet he reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Even an emperor knew the limit of his control, and in that acceptance, he found calm. But here's the truth, letting go is not weakness, it is strength. Anyone can rage against the world, anyone can complain, but only a disciplined mind can surrender to reality without breaking. Only a strong soul can accept what it cannot bend. Calmness belongs to the one who has the wisdom to focus his energy on the controllable and the courage to release the rest. So the next time life shakes you, remember this: don't waste your fire on storms you cannot tame. Rule your mind, and you rule your world. Control what you can, release what you cannot. That is the Stoic path to unshakable calm. The Stoics taught us something profound. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Epictetus made it clear, nothing outside of you has the power to shake your soul unless you give it permission. The chaos is not in the world. The chaos is in your mind. Think about the last time you were angry, stressed, or hurt. Was it the situation itself, or was it the meaning you gave it? Someone cut you off in traffic. One person explodes in rage. Another person shrugs and keeps driving. The same event, but two different responses. Why? Because the disturbance doesn't come from the event. It comes from the interpretation. It comes from the story you tell yourself about what happened. The mind is like a lens. If your lens is clouded with negativity, insecurity, or ego, everything you see will disturb you. But if your lens is clear, trained, and disciplined, then nothing can break your calm. This is why Stoicism puts so much emphasis on controlling perception. The world is neutral, it is you who paints it with meaning. Marcus Aurelius faced endless challenges: war, plague, betrayal, personal loss. Yet in his private meditations he wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Imagine the power in those words. It means you can reclaim calmness anytime, simply by changing how you see. This does not mean you deny reality. The Stoics were not naive. They didn't pretend pain doesn't exist or that problems magically disappear. No, they acknowledge reality fully, but without exaggeration, without panic, without unnecessary drama. The Stoic mind looks at a situation and says, this happened. It is neither good nor bad. It just is. What matters is how I choose to respond. When you practice this, you stop being a victim of circumstances. Insults lose their sting. Failures lose their weight. Even tragedies are met with steadiness because you understand the event itself is outside your control, but your judgment, your attitude, your inner response, that is entirely yours. That is where freedom lives. Picture yourself standing in a storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes, the lightning strikes. The average person panics, screams, collapses, but the Stoic stands firm, knowing that the storm is just what it is, a storm. It cannot touch his reason, it cannot disturb his calm unless he lets it. That inner fortress is built not on denial, but on disciplined perception. So the next time something shakes you, stop and ask, is this the event itself, or is this my judgment about it? If it is your judgment, change it, shift it, reframe it, because when you master perception, you master peace. Remember, life doesn't disturb you, people don't disturb you. Events don't disturb you, only your mind has that power. Guard it, train it, and you will walk through the world untouchable. Life is not meant to be easy, and the Stoics never promised comfort, they promised strength. One of their greatest practices was premeditatio, malorum, the premeditation of evils. They trained themselves to expect hardship before it arrived. Why? Because a man who expects storms does not panic when the clouds gather. He walks forward prepared. Most people live in denial. They hope nothing bad will happen, and when life strikes, they collapse. They say, "Why me?" They scream at fate as if life owes them safety. But the Stoic does not beg for an easy life. He prepares for a difficult one. He rehearses adversity in his mind, so when adversity comes, it does not break him. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." In other words, when you imagine the worst, you strip it of its surprise, you take away its ability to terrify you. Fear is nothing but the shock of being unprepared. Preparation is the death of fear. Imagine a soldier. If he trains only on sunny days, he will break in battle when rain soaks his armor and mud covers his path. But if he has trained in storms, in hunger, in exhaustion, then when real war comes, it feels familiar. The hardship does not overwhelm him because he has already faced it in his mind. That is Stoic preparation. How do you practice this? Each morning, reflect on the possible trials ahead. Someone may insult you today. Someone may betray you. You may lose money. You may get sick. This is not pessimism. This is realism. And when it happens, you will not cry out in shock. You will say, "I knew this could come. I am ready." That readiness is calmness. But remember, expecting hardship is not about living in fear. It is about building resilience. The man who expects difficulty is not anxious. He is steady because he knows that hardship is not the enemy. Unpreparedness is. He knows that pain is not fatal to the soul. Panic is. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, faced constant threats, plagues, invasions, political betrayal, and yet in his meditations he reminded himself daily, "Today you may meet with ungrateful men, arrogant men, deceitful men, envious men, unsocial men, envious men." Why would a ruler begin his day with such grim words? Because he knew preparation is protection. He armored his mind against the realities of life so they could never take him by surprise. So do the same. Expect insults, expect failure, expect obstacles, and when they come, meet them calmly like an old friend. Because panic belongs to the untrained mind, but calmness belongs to the prepared soul. The storms of life are inevitable. You cannot control when they arrive, but you can always control whether you are ready. And when you are ready, no storm can break you. Expect hardship, not with fear, but with strength. Prepare, and you will never panic. The difference between a calm man and a broken man is often just a single moment, the pause. Most people live as slaves to impulse. They feel insulted and immediately lash out. They feel fear and immediately collapse. They feel anger and immediately explode. But the Stoic knows the space between stimulus and response is where your power lives. Master the pause, and you master your life, Seneca said. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. He understood that emotions come like waves, strong at first, but always passing. If you react instantly, you ride the wave blindly, and it smashes you into the rocks. But if you pause, if you wait, the wave subsides, and then you can choose your response with reason, not with rage. Picture a man being insulted. If he reacts immediately, he raises his voice, he loses his composure, he says words he regrets. In that instant, the insulter wins. But if he pauses, if he breathes, if he chooses silence or a measured response, he keeps his dignity intact. The insult passes, but his calmness remains. This is the Stoic advantage. Pausing is not weakness, it is mastery. Anyone can scream, anyone can strike. That is easy. But it takes strength to hold back, to restrain the fire, to stay unmoved when provoked. The Stoics believe that true power is not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself, and nothing proves self-mastery more than the ability to pause when every part of you wants to react. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That power is exercised in the pause. The pause is the gap where reason can speak louder than emotion, where wisdom can silence impulse, where calmness can triumph over chaos." How do you practice this? Start small. When someone interrupts you, pause before you answer. When bad news arrives, pause before you panic. When your emotions surge, count to 10, breathe, and let the first wave pass. In that space, remind yourself, I am in control of my response. The world does not dictate my reaction. I do. Over time, this practice transforms you. You stop being a prisoner of your emotions and become the commander of them. Insults bounce off. Provocations lose their power. Challenges no longer drag you into chaos because you have trained yourself to meet them with stillness, not with rashness. Remember this, reacting is instinct, responding is wisdom. The animal reacts, but the Stoic responds. The man who can pause in the heat of battle, in the fire of anger, in the storm of life. That man cannot be broken, so master the pause. Protect that space between stimulus and response as your fortress, because in that space lies calmness, and in calmness lies ultimate strength. The Stoics carried with them a reminder that most people fear. Memento mori, remember, you will die. At first, this sounds grim, almost depressing, but to the Stoic, it was not meant to create fear, it was meant to create calmness. Because when you remember that life is short, you stop being disturbed by the trivial. Death gives perspective. Look at how most people live. They waste their days arguing over small insults, chasing possessions that will one day turn to dust, and clinging to the illusion that tomorrow is guaranteed. They are disturbed because they believe they have endless time. But the Stoic knows better. Life is borrowed. Every breath is a gift. Every moment could be the last. And when you understand this, calmness comes naturally. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." Think about that. Your life feels short not because death steals time from you, but because you squander time on what doesn't matter. You rage at traffic. You complain about delays. You lose sleep over opinions that will not matter in a year. But when you remember that you are mortal, these disturbances shrink to nothing. Why waste precious life on things unworthy of your energy? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Imagine the power in those words. If you lived every day remembering that it could be your last, how much calmer would you be? Would you waste time in arguments? Would you chase shallow victories? Or would you live with purpose, with clarity, with peace? Memento mori is not a call to despair. It is a call to focus. Death is the great teacher, stripping away illusions and showing us what truly matters. You stop being disturbed by insults when you realize that both you and your insulter will soon be dust. You stop being shaken by loss when you realize that everything you own was only ever temporary. You stop being restless when you realize that time is not yours to waste. This awareness does not weaken you, it liberates you. The man who remembers death no longer clings desperately to life. He lives fully but calmly. He does not fear loss because he knows loss is part of existence. He does not fear change because he knows all things are passing. He does not fear death itself because he sees it as natural, as inevitable, as part of the great cycle of nature. So carry this truth with you, memento mori, not as a shadow of fear, but as a torch of clarity. Let it remind you that life is fragile, time is sacred, and calmness is found in letting go of what does not matter. Death is coming, but that is what makes life precious. And the man who remembers this walks through life with unshakable calm. The world teaches us to chase power and titles, wealth, status, and control over others. But the Stoics saw a greater truth. The highest form of power is not ruling over nations or commanding armies. It is ruling over yourself, and nothing proves that mastery more than inner peace. Think about it. A man can have riches, but if he is restless, he is poor. A man can have influence, but if he is disturbed by every insult, he is weak. A man can sit on a throne, but if he cannot sit calmly with his own thoughts, he is a slave. Inner peace is the throne no one can overthrow, the crown no one can steal, the fortress no enemy can breach. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, yet in his private writings he often reminded himself that real strength comes from within, not from the empire he commanded. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul, he wrote. Imagine that. The most powerful man in the world understood that the true empire is within. How do you achieve this kind of peace? By aligning your life with virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. When your actions are rooted in principle, you cannot be shaken by outside noise. When your decisions flow from reason instead of impulse, the storms of life cannot move you. When you live with integrity, you no longer depend on the approval of others to feel secure. That is real power. Inner peace does not mean escape. It does not mean hiding from the world, avoiding conflict, or running away from struggle. No, it means engaging fully with life, but without being controlled by it. The Stoic lives in the marketplace, in the battlefield, in the chaos of the world, yet his mind remains unshaken. Because peace is not found in escaping the storm, but in standing calm within it. Most people believe calmness is passive. They think silence is weakness, but the Stoics flip that belief upside down. Calmness is the ultimate weapon. Why? Because the man who is calm cannot be provoked. He cannot be manipulated. He cannot be broken. He sees clearly while others are blinded by emotion, and in that clarity he makes better decisions, wields greater influence, and commands deeper respect. That is strength. Inner peace is the highest power because it is the one thing the world cannot take from you. Wealth can be stolen. Status can be lost, health can decline, even loved ones can leave. But your peace, your inner calm, is yours alone. It is your true kingdom. Guard it, protect it, live in it. So remember this final lesson. Seek not power over others, but power over yourself. Because when you master your inner world, the outer world cannot shake you. Calmness is not weakness. Calmness is victory. And inner peace is the greatest power a man can ever hold. And his ben is of the proud.